Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the disastrous interview featuring Joe Biden and George Stephanopoulos over on ABC, and the lying from the White House as it relates to Joe Biden's health. Hey, Karine Jean-Pierre, has Joe Biden had any kind of doctor's visit, exam, neurological brain scan since February? No, everything's fine. He's sharp as a tack. All these buzzwords, they wanted to astroturf to the American people. But now we know that's a lie, because right after the debate, he was examined by a doctor. Talking about something, oh, he has a cold. Listen, if you have a cold, don't you do things like cough and sneeze at least one time during 90 minutes? Okay. Oh, he's tired. Wasn't he at Camp David for a full week before the debate? Look, if you can't get rested up after a week of sleeping, then you're not really ever going to get rested up all the way. That's pretty much how you are. Now, before we get to the highlights or the lowlights from the ABC interview, let's check out this whole Karine Jean-Pierre kerfuffle, and I will link to everything in the box. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
After the debate, did the president get examined by a doctor, or did he get a neurological scan?
A neurological scan?
Let's pause right here. Right away, she's trying to kind of mislead or answer a question without answering the full question. Because the first thing she said was, has the president been seen by a doctor? That was the first thing. Or neurological exam. She wants to go to the more extreme thing that probably didn't happen. But let's talk about the first thing that I said, which was the doctor visit.
Look, what I can say is that, just to take a step back, it was a bad night. We understand that it was a bad night. And the president has spoken to this. And he understands that. And so I cannot speak to anything beyond what I just shared. The president has regular annual physicals that we release in a thorough report. We're going to continue to do that. I don't have anything else beyond that.
So she's trying to deny this whole thing about the doctor, and no, he has like annual things, February, all this and that, but that wound up being a lie. Now here she is, audio only, explaining that.
Can you clear up something from last week? So you had said that the president hadn't been seen by the doctor at all, and then in a call with the governors, the president said that he had a checkup. So I just wondered, can you explain the discrepancy?
Speak to that. So he did have a short verbal check-in in the recent days about his cold. It wasn't a medical exam or a physical. Just want to be super clear about.
So you get seen by a doctor, you get evaluated by a doctor, and the president himself is on the phone call with governor saying that he got seen by a doctor. But then Karine Jean-Pierre trying to spin it, talking about, oh, it was just a verbal, it wasn't really a thing, all this and that. Come on, man. The lies and the gaslighting are out of this world. I won't play the entire thing because you get the general gist of it, but I will link to everything in the box. Now, let's get to what's happening with Joe Biden during this interview. Now, this interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC was seen as a way to try and rescue him right now, to try and patch things up after that disastrous debate. They called on the former White House, I think he might have been the press secretary for Slit Willie, George Stephanopoulos. They called him to try and save Biden, but I don't think it's happening. Check it out.
With the debate, you and your team have said you had a bad night, but your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted.
My man, you were at Camp David for a week, resting, doing nothing else. And doing your regular everyday schedule, you're not doing that much. What are you exhausted from? What are you exhausted from? Eating applesauce and laying on the ground, laying in your bed?
I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
You know, you say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
These are really good questions, actually. I'm surprised. Shout out to George Stephanopoulos and ABC for asking some actual hard-hitting questions. Now, whether they're going to hold him accountable for his answers is a different question, but at least they're asking the questions that need to be asked.
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them if they did a COVID test because they're trying to figure out what's wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
Let's start.
A cold with no coughing or sneezing. Come on, man. Cut it out. You don't have a cold. You just old. How about that? Let's keep on going to the next one here.
Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No. But I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I mean, of course, if you ask somebody if they're frail and they're the president and they want to appear to be strong, they're going to say no. But we don't need George Stephanopoulos to ask that question for us to know the answer. Obviously, this guy is very frail and very old. And again, I don't want it to be like I'm trying to attack elderly people or infirmed people. I'm just saying, we all get old, and at a certain point, we might be in Joe Biden's situation. It's just okay to recognize it and do something about it. It's not some kind of bad thing.
I know you.
So let's keep on rocking here.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. Not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, anyway, I shouldn't get into the details.
The Prime Minister of who? You forgot. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about right here. You don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, but.
And then the thing is, if you're on the phone with this guy and midway through the conversation, you forget you're talking to, it's like, come on, man. Come on, Joe.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think all the pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind, CBS poll and NBC, and
New York Times and NBC both.
Like, he don't even know what's going on. George had to come in and rescue him. Like, that wouldn't happen for anybody else. If Trump was on there confused about which polls he's leading in, which polls he's behind in, and was having a hard time being able to actually verbalize what he was thinking or to remember, they would not rescue him at all. They would just let him look confused and stumbling and have that be the headline. Confused, stumbling, elderly, old, doesn't know what's going on. That'd be the headline.
You have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right. New York Times had me behind before anything happened to do with this race. Had me behind 10 points. 10 points had me behind. Nothing's changed substantially in the debate, the New York Times poll.
Yeah, this guy is a mess.
But part of the other concern is that it seems to have fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts,
look at his face, though. Like, when George is reading, look at this man's face. This is not the face of a healthy person. But you know what? It's almost like I'm explaining something that's obvious. It's like I'm performing a lecture on why water is wet. Why do I need to do this? Because the media will tell you that the water is dry. Hey, when the water splashes you in the face and you feel the wetness on you, don't even worry about that. It's actually dry. They're gaslighting you. They're making you try to believe a thing that's unbelievable. But Let me stop before I get any more triggered and let him continue.
As evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal. Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes. I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition.
A peace plan for the Middle East? Don't we see little kids getting drone striked over in a certain particular part of the Middle East that should remain nameless? Don't we see that going on? Peace? You got tankers getting attacked by the rebels, and you got all kind of stuff going on, man. Peace?
I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done were ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, well, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? Today, just announced 200,000 new jobs. We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them. No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done.
How have you beaten Big Pharma when you have 100,000 Americans dying of opioid-related deaths, and the majority of that comes from Big Pharma? Stuff like fentanyl, which is Big Pharma creation, all the other pills and whatnot, Oxycontin, the Xanax, all that's from Big Pharma. So how are you winning the war against Big Pharma? It looks like Big Pharma is stomping Americans into wine, and you're not doing anything about it. And you're leaving the border wide open to allow more of the illicit drugs that Big Pharma created pour into the country. I don't understand. This guy's a nut.
And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things: restore some decency to the office, restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics built from the middle out and the bottom up, the way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better, and unite the country.
All right, so that is the president, allegedly, Joe Biden, 81 million votes, having a dumpster fire of an interview on ABC. Now, as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to everybody in the administration, Karine Jean-Pierre, everyone trying to gaslight us about this man's condition. He is clearly not well. He is very old. He should just stop. But I think it's too late in the game for them to try and switch him out, barring any kind of obvious medical emergency, like if he has some kind of really serious injury or he's hospitalized for a long time. Beyond that, that's their guy. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Did you see the ABC News interview? How about Karine Jean-Pierre? What do you think about this whole situation? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This guy should not be running for president. He should not be in the Oval Office at all. But here he is. Democrats don't care. It's like, look, we trying to win. We trying to succeed. We trying to get votes. You stay in there. We know that you are one swift wind away from not being able to do anything anymore and being stuck in the wheelchair or something like that or worse, but don't worry about it. As long as we get what we need, as long as we're able to put you in there and run the show from behind the scenes, then it's all good, which in my humble opinion is pretty gross. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.